Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Canberra Banks and Chamber of Commerce. Today's topic is ongoing about part of the BRAVE program. The BRAVE program is simply a program focusing on helping women from coal communities return to work. And obviously, part of that journey of return to work, we need to make sure that we can provide every tool possible, every support possible to make sure that person is job ready, interview ready, and focus on being the confident and the support they need. It's all about empowerment. So today's topic is about choosing the right educator for you. And the objective is empowering women from culturally diverse backgrounds returning to work by helping them choose the right education providers. So today we have amazing people with us. And rather than me introduce them individually, I'll invite them first to talk about themselves, introduce themselves, and talk briefly about their organization and just how we can be able to learn about their skills and professionalism, how they can add value to the topic. So let's start with Paula.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Paula Aboud. I am at TAFE New South Wales. I work in senior education in multicultural engagement, and I've worked with migrant and refugee women for over 30 years in the education and employment space. My job at the moment is really to make sure that everyone has access and can participate in learning. So as a public education provider, it's really important we make sure that people know about our courses, that our courses and learning programs, especially for women, especially for migrant and refugee women, engage and women can thrive so that they can pathway into employment. So I'm really happy to be here and be able to have this conversation because for the last 30 years, I've had a real strong commitment to ensuring women have quality education and thrive in broader society.
It's amazing. Debbie?
Hi, everybody. My name's Debbie. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Realise Business, and I'm also an e-commerce business owner and an advisor for Realise Business. At the crux of it all, I'm a small business owner, right? And also in my capacity as a small business owner, I haven't taken the normal path, if that kind of makes sense. So being able to be just a couple of steps ahead of somebody and being able to mentor them and help them through the programs that Realise Business runs gives me immense satisfaction, right? And it gives back, especially because I know when I was a small business, when I am even yesterday, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? There's always going to be that. So knowing where to turn, I think is really valuable. So that's my background and how I want to help.
Thank you. Marina?
Hi everyone, my name is Marina Yacoub and I'm the manager of Bieni House, Rivesby Women's Shelter. So our shelter is for providing crisis accommodation for women and children who are fleeing domestic violence or who are at risk of being homeless or who are already homeless. We help them to find longer term accommodation and as well reaching some of their goals. And primarily one of the main goals is also to get work or to get on their feet, to be independent, especially after going through separation or divorce if there is domestic violence. So education is one of the main goals that we hope that many women can empower themselves with and can help them later on with their careers.
Well, the audience, as you can see, we have three amazing representatives from three amazing organizations who are going to come together today to make sure that we can add value and provide you with opportunities and navigation process. But before we ask questions, I'd love to acknowledge the New South Wales Government and Women New South Wales for giving us and supporting this program and allowing us to make things happen. So let's go. Let's start conversation with Paula. Paula, how can women returning to work ensure that the courses they choose align with their career aspirations?
That's a great starting point because there's so many courses around, and I think I've heard over the last 30 years, having worked with women for over 3 decades, so many women who are returning to paid work. I'd really kind of clarify. All women work all the time, so it's paid work we're talking about, like in the workforce. The thing I hear most is, I don't know what course to do, or I'm not sure what I should do. Should I do what I did before, or do I do something completely different? And so that's a really good question to start with, because I think it's really important to allow space for women to choose what they want to do, and to have support services at TAFE New South Wales. There's people like me who are multicultural coordinators who can sit and have conversations with women, especially those returning to work, especially women who've escaped violence. I'm not sure what they want to do. My starting point is always to ask, what have you done before? So recognising women's previous experience, their previous skills, their life skills. They may have overseas qualifications and skills, which is really important that we recognise the strengths. So we take a strength-based approach and acknowledge that maybe this woman has all this knowledge that can be applied into a course at a particular level. In doing this, it means that a woman doesn't maybe enroll in a course that's not going to engage her, is not going to support her in a pathway towards employment. So our counsellors, we have careers counsellors, and my starting point is always if you're not sure what course you want to choose, some women easily go onto the website and navigate the TAFE course website and can find their way from a certificate 3 to a certificate 4 or a diploma. For some women, that might be really a challenge, and I think, all websites we have a challenge with our digital literacy. So that's why we have people like me, specialist multicultural coordinators, and we have counsellors, careers counsellors, and anyone, especially women, whether they're older or younger, whether they have disability, whether they're newly arrived or they've been here for a long time or born here, you can make an appointment with a counsellor. It's a free service. And you can sit with a counsellor and have a conversation about what you want to do. Where do you want to be in 2 years, and work backwards? What do you need to put in place to prepare for what you want to have achieved in 2 years? And that's my starting point. It's kind of a futuring question. Where do you want to be in 2 years? Because that allows space for women to imagine, maybe to dream big, and to work backwards. Again, a counsellor you can co-develop a learning plan, an individual learning plan with a counsellor, which means you map, maybe a beginning, an introduction course. If you've been out of the workplace or the workforce for a long time, you might need a different skill set. If you've been out a short time or overseas qualified, maybe you just need a bridge, a kind of skills gap training. So I think choosing the right course to align with the specific, experiences of a woman is really important. So women don't end up on that merry-go-round of doing one course after another, which doesn't lead to anything. That wastes women's time.
And that's the beauty about TAFE, being a huge organisation, has huge capabilities, and you are able basically to help the candidate to navigate. And obviously, by understanding their expectations, their level of needs and wants, you'll be able to channel them into the right. And you have a presence basically in every LGA, or nearby.
There's across the state we have over 140, I think, campuses, but we have digital as well, digital learning, which suits a lot of women because you can kind of work out family responsibilities.
So you can do online courses.
You can do digital learning. We also, really importantly, I want to mention that access courses are really important. They're a starting point. So a course like Work Opportunities for Women might give women the space to grow their confidence in learning again. We provide learning support, so you can get language, literacy, numeracy, digital learning support. We have learning centres, we have disability teacher consultants that can be note takers, we have adaptive technologies. So For me, TAFE lives up to its overriding purpose of for the public good when we provide support for, especially for women, to thrive in education. We see education as a human right, and providing quality education is our purpose.
Thank you, Paula. This is amazing. Very, very sort of close to the hearts and minds of someone listening. Debbie, through your amazing role, and obviously we have to give credit to Martin Roger, your CEO. He's an amazing person, well connected with the community. My question to you: how can education choice impact a woman's ability to start or grow their own business?
It's a really interesting question because there is no manual that you can whip out when it's here's how to start a business, right? There's no manual for that, and there's a whole lot of different courses that you can do at all the different providers, right? But business changes really, really quickly, and especially in digital. For example, I was looking at my ads the other day, and something that worked last week doesn't work this week, right? So being able to have that skill set where you can kind of call on, make a judgment based on your learning, And I still remember actually what Paul was saying about, I met with a career counselor way earlier when I was in university, not knowing what I wanted to do, right? And even in high school, my job didn't exist when I was in high school, right? Digital media, social media, websites, all of this stuff, it was in its infancy, right? But it didn't exist. So I think it is about micro learning maybe, and like having your hand in a lot of pies, and that's what business is ultimately, because you don't know what skill set you're going to use. So I think that being open to all the different tools that are available to you. For example, Realise Business runs many programs that are all government funded, either locally or federally funded. For example, Business Connect runs a workshop that says how to start a business. Right? And it might not give you all the answers, but at least it'll give you where to go next.
Foundation.
Totally, yeah. And then from there, if you decide, okay, I want to learn more about digital, then off you go off to the digital kind of path, and you'll find a mentor or somebody that has trodden that path before you and is able to set you on the right way. So I think for me, the key is learning and being open to learning all the different things. There's nothing, nothing can replace that formal learning, yes, but it's also learning, micro learning from all the different people that are just a couple of steps ahead of you. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Thank you. Marina, how does education play a role in empowering women who have experienced domestic and family violence?
Yes, so when we talk about women who have experienced domestic violence, we talk about trauma, history of trauma. So many of them may not be really thinking about education as much as just getting out of that relationship, protecting themselves and protecting the children. But education plays a role, because the more a woman is educated, or when finished school or finished a course at TAFE, or finished even a degree, then it will help her to do some planning around how she will continue her life. And that's very important. So the more a woman is knowledgeable, the more she can plan ahead. And it's not an easy move to move from a relationship with, especially if she has children, and to be a single mom, for instance, or to lose some supports that she had before. So with women who didn't have really much of education, maybe after school, we try to see how knowledgeable she is. So education may not be actually in academic things, but it could be life skills. Some women don't really have a degree, but they know how to call legal aid, for instance. They know how to navigate the rental market. So the more a woman is knowledgeable about life skills, about the supports in the community, whom to ask, are there any community organizations in her area? Are there any counselors she can talk to? So we talk here about education on a bigger scale, as of being, knowledgeable of her society, of her community. Also education about financial budgeting, that's very important. Maybe some women are very well educated, but they don't know how to budget themselves. They are, trained that the partner is having all the, planning for their finances. And then when she gets out of a relationship, she doesn't know how
She's struggling.
to.
So financial literacy is a key factor here as well.
Yes, so education about how to manage her finances, how to budget, how to plan, what things have priority in her expenditure. So that's also important in education. So the more woman knows about these things, she can plan the timing of going out of a relationship. And
So
the time-
simply rather than give the person a fish to eat, teach them how to fish.
Yes.
Is that a fair description?
Yes, that's very true. And also plan how to get herself a new home. Some people stay in the same home, but we find now many women leaving the home where they married. So if she leaves, then she needs to find a new place. She needs to plan ahead. How is she going to plan ahead? How is she going to have her own bank account? If she had shared bank account, then she needs to have her own bank account. And there are so many things involved. So as I said, the more education she's open to, or the more knowledge she has, the more people she can ask. It's very important for her to move forward.
With confidence, strength, and empowerment.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
empowerment.
And I think that brings me back to Paula again, that question, what role does accreditation play in choosing the right educator? And how does TAFE New South Wales ensure its program meet industry standards?
Of course, accreditation is critical. Nationally accredited courses are really important. And as we've seen, there's been so many stories students tell us about, having chosen to go and study somewhere and it's not accredited. So again, it's around knowledge. To your point, knowledge is power. So I think TAFE New South Wales is a public educator. We have all registered training organisations we call RTOs. We all have a responsibility to be accountable and to comply with all the educational standards and all, the new registered training organisation standards come into effect in July the 1st. So I always encourage people to know what those standards are and to check that the training you're getting is accredited. And accredited means it's recognised and there's minimum standards. And that's really important for women, that the learning they do, the education they do is quality, that they actually can pathway into further study and further training. And accreditation lays that all out.
So their time's not wasted, basically.
And their money as well. And, so many times I've seen when, training organisations collapse, students are left with debt and no accredited certificates or diplomas. So it's really important to choose the right educator. I agree with the essence of that question. How TAFE New South Wales ensures its programs meet industry standards is we partner with industry, we partner with community organisations, so we co-design, and I think you're absolutely correct. Employment changes all the time. The gig economy, the economy where it's so...
the world is moving fast and being digitally savvy, it's crucial. It's important. It doesn't matter how basic it is, but it's important to be. And if you start in business, if you're not online, you're basically in the shadow. And I think that.
And you have to align with, there's skill shortages. So, everyone's rushing to fill those gaps. Micro courses are really good courses, smart courses. And having a choice, I think, is really important. That, sometimes doing a big kind of certificate might be, suitable feasible for a lot of people. So how we, as a public provider, ensure our programs really align with standards, and not just industry, but educational standards, because that's really important as well. Quality education for me is key, not just enrolling people and like a factory and getting them out the door. Quality is really important. So educational standards that comply with best practice and also that pathway, and provide opportunities for further training. And I always remind people the E in TAFE the acronym is education. And I think life skills, education is critical as a public provider, that people have not just training in vocational skills, but have life skills that build their capacity to engage as leaders in civic, in society.
You're very passionate, Paul. I love it. This is amazing. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's good as an individual to be passionate, because then when you care about something, things can just eventually have to be more perfect and more better. Debbie, if I may ask you, what should women look for an educator or course if they aim to develop entrepreneurial skills?
So I think the key here is to find a mentor, right? To find somebody that can meet you where they're at, right? So their skill set might be here, but you don't need this right now. You just need this kind of thing, right? So, you know, a lot of our programs, for me, and you know, this is me putting my advisor hat on, right? It's where are they right now, right? For example, do they have digital skills where they know how to take a photo of their product and post it up on Shopify, right? Shopify is an e-commerce based website provider, right? So do they know how to do that? Do they also know what the repercussions of that is? Like, have you got a weight in there so that the shipping cost doesn't become exorbitant? Like, you know, all of these things, there is no manual for it, right? But you kind of learn as you go, right? So, I mean, the greatest thing about, I remember I started my business when Christopher was still in my belly, and you know, my business started to grow while he grew up, right? So there's a picture, a journey that I like to show is the first one is him in the pouch in the front, and then the next one, a couple of weeks later, it's him on my back, right? So being able to show that journey, but all of that learning has been done through micro learning. So where can I gain information on Shopify? Where can I gain information on how to use my phone and take better videos, right? And that's why a lot of our programs are designed to be, you know, webinar based or, you know, one-on-one based, so the advisor can meet you where they are, but also the webinars are on demand. You know, you could easily find a webinar on Shopify on our website and log in and see what you can learn just from that half an hour or 45 minutes with that advisor.
I want to bring you back to the keyword mentor. How can you tell a mentor? How can you identify a mentor? Or who can be the right mentor to the person? Is it natural instinct or?
It's interesting because it goes back to this and this, right? Like being able to have somebody that has been through the business before you, and they might not be in a specific niche, for example, but wider from a category level, from e-commerce, for example. Then if they've had that experience, then they can meet you again where they are, right? So finding a mentor, I would, you know, go to those programs that are freely available for you. Business Connect, run by New South Wales Government. Digital Solutions is available for a minimal fee, run by the federal government, right? We are all advisors here to help you, to meet you where they are, and all advisors have a big remit that they can then meet you where you need to be. Yeah.
Marina, what should women in vulnerable situation consider when choosing an education provider to support their long-term independence?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is some people have big dreams, and we can't achieve big dreams at once. So they need to know what they can commit to. So for instance, maybe at one point, a woman cannot commit to full-time course. Maybe she can commit to only a course that provides 2 times a week or 3 times a week rather than 5 times a week. She needs to know her supports if she has children, like if the course runs from 9 to 5, for instance, or some sessions are from 9 to 5, who is going to pick up the kids? So she needs to have more knowledge about if she wants to do, let's say, childcare course or aged care course or whatever course she's choosing. She needs to know there needs to be some supports for her in case a child gets sick or she wants to. The school calls, they want him to be picked up from school and so on. So there needs, and commitment. So the woman needs to understand how she can commit to a full course if she chooses one. Another thing is to know if she can manage her mental health. Sometimes some women might have anxiety or depression, and at one point they cannot have face-to-face interaction, or it makes them more anxious. So maybe she can choose a provider that can enable her to do something online, like what Paula have suggested. There are many courses online, but can she actually access online, and is she knowledgeable about the basic IT things and how to so she needs to know her capacity as well and what's in the market. Another thing I think as well is the practicality of the course. Many people get to some courses, but then when they actually start applying for jobs, the job needs experience, but you don't have experience.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah. So some people are really, and I find few women who actually came to the shelter and they completed a course, and we were so happy and celebrated, but then month after month and after month, and they didn't get any jobs. And we tried to look for some jobs, but most of the jobs, they need at least few years experience or at least few months, and they don't have anything. And even with the work experience, it's too hard to work for some time for free. So they need as well to look at the practicality of the course. I have a story for a woman who came to our shelter, and she had a PhD in chemistry. And it was the first time for me, it's unbelievable to find a person with that, amount of education, and at one point she needed a shelter. I'll be very quick so that I don't waste the time. Anyway, the problem is that she had a PhD around 30 years ago.
Wow.
And she worked in research for a few years at the beginning of her marriage or before marriage. But then she stayed 20 years without practicing any chemistry or practicing any research. And then when we talked about her goals, she was very eager to return back, and practically it's quite impossible because it's research. You need to be up to date with everything. You need to have experience and so on. But she was very adamant, and even though she found a rental property, and she was applying, 1 year couldn't get any job, 2nd year not even an interview, and we tried to tell her, maybe you can try with something,
a bit more realistic.
And then finally, she found an employment program, and she started doing something related to admin work, and we thought that's perfect because you need a place to start from. So as I said, we need to be realistic about the market and realistic of, yes, you did an amazing job of having a PhD, but that was a long time ago and I didn't practice. So many people now need to change some fields because there isn't much in the market that is suitable as well to the education that
sometimes we are very emotionally involved and synced into that kind of thing, but we need to be realistic and apply some sort of, call it common sense or a bit more sound judgment.
I was going to just add to that. It's about, I would bring another lens to that to see if there's an opportunity to share her knowledge with the wider, right? For example, using digital skills, using digital outlets, right? Her knowledge might be from 30 years ago, but there's still a lot of knowledge there, right? So is there some way to overlay business skills or online skills, digital literacy, all of that to propel what she already knows, right? Because you can't replace those 30 years of experience, right? I can't do that, right? But then you can add to that by giving new skills, digital skills and all that. So yeah, could be an opportunity there.
I love that. I think that brings me to the key question about support. And Paula, what types of support service does Take New South Wales offer, such as mentoring, internships, or employment assistance to help students transition into the workforce? I think that brings us back to...
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. We get a lot of women with overseas qualifications, whether it was 10 years, 5 years, or 30 years. And I agree. For me, acknowledging the skills and the knowledge is really important. We have processes where if people do have overseas qualifications, we validate those qualifications and start the process of recognition of prior learning, whether it is recognising prior learning or pathwaying into a bridging course. So it's really important. As I mentioned, our counsellors are just top tier counsellors, and they're not just careers educational counsellors, but they're personal counsellors as well. So if women are facing financial hardship or are at risk of family violence or domestic violence or are experiencing mental ill health, our counsellors are there to support, to make sure, to ensure women complete. and thrive in the educational journey. As well, we have disability teacher consultants, as mentioned. We also have Jobs Connect. It's kind of an in-house service in TAFE where students we have all these templates in industry areas that have been developed by industry experts like CVs and interview skills. So we've got all those kinds of the support wraparound, what we call wraparound support. It's really vital in terms of supporting students to, as I said, not just complete, but to actually thrive and significantly change. Like learning for me as a teacher, I have 30 years of teaching experience myself. Watching students actually transform in the learning process is really important when they get more confident. Confidence is everything in the job market, we know. So that's really important aspect as well. So the mentoring, I think mentoring, finding a generous person is really important as well. Someone who's generous with their knowledge and shares their knowledge.
And time.
And time, definitely time. But the knowledge sharing, in my experiencing of mentoring, I used to teach mentoring courses at TAFE. And mentoring is nothing if it's not built on a respectful, reciprocal relationship where the mentor is sharing knowledge and networks. So I think that's really important as well.
There's a lot of employers that love to give back, and I think once we can identify them, and that's the beauty about the Chamber of Commerce, because it allows those employers to express their desire to give back, and this is how we can be able to channel that to key organisations like yourself, and such as Beyond House or TAFE or Realise Business. So I think that kind of circle, it's important that we all work together, complementing, collaborate, and sharing expectations and sharing desire and share, all that kind of thing. So I think it brings me back to Realise Business. Debbie, how does Realise Business support women in applying the education to real-world business opportunities?
Okay.
Now we want to take that to the real world.
The real world, yeah. I think it's, Realise Business, we're a not-for-profit, right? And we've helped 35,000 businesses through when we first started. So that real-world experience comes from, you can't be an advisor until you've run a business yourself and succeeded to a certain point, right? So that mentoring is really important in programs like this. For example, Digital Solutions is a program that we run through federal government, which I work with somebody for 4 hours one-to-one through the grant, right? Through a grant from the federal government. But I love seeing that journey, right? That journey from when someone meets me and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, and then I only give them a little bit, for example, have you got a content calendar for your social media, or have you tried to learn, or go and watch this webinar on ads, right? And then they come back and they're like, Debbie, I built my website in a weekend. I love seeing that, right? But it's, again, going back to the mentor that can be generous with the time, but meet them where they are, because the last thing you want is for someone to be overwhelmed, right? Did I answer the question? Sorry, I love being able to help other small businesses and to help them along that journey, and I'm lucky to be able to work with for Realise Business, who has so many different programs that I'm just one of the advisors on, right? Finance, we have operations, we have business connect, so many different ways to help. So yeah.
I just want to comment about the mentor thing, because some people actually they do the extra mile. And I had a feedback from someone who from a culturally and linguistically diverse background, and they came here for many months, they couldn't find a job, and they went to an interview, many interviews, and that one they were very anxious, and the employer, the person who was doing the interview, was so kind. And he told that person, don't worry about the interview, and he showed them the place of work, and after they finished, they walked and so on. He told that person, would you like to come another time so that we can fix your CV? And that person called me, and they told me, well, of course he didn't get the job, but the fact that that person offered to sit with them and look at their CV and tell them, well, that's outdated, or you can put this expression instead of that. That actually was a very big and generous help for someone. They don't know each other. And that's the extra mile. That could be like indirect mentor, but someone who was really generous and open to help someone who knew that needed help.
There's a lot of people out there who are so genuinely passionate and genuinely they want to give back at the same time. And this is where sometimes I want to bring back to build a relationship. Yes, we are in a digital world, but it's important that we need to remain connectable from a human perspective, because that's how we can support each other. So as much as we appreciate the digital world, we need to make sure that we can still focus and stick and grow that relationship, because that's how we can generate that passion, that caring attitude. Otherwise, without it, it's just a dry relationship, and then a lot of people lose a lot of support. So I think I want to come back to you, Marina. Are there specific programs or partnerships that helps women in shelters access education and career opportunities?
There are. Every shelter is different, of course, but I'll talk about
BNI
House. So we have a program called Breaking Free Program, and it's open for anyone, like not only women who are in the shelter, but any women. So we advertise for it for any woman who is interested to attend. It's once a month, and it builds up knowledge and skills. So part of it is well-being. So we can do some well-being sessions like art session or knitting session, yoga session, things like that. But also we have some sessions that talk about work exploitation, what to do if you are new in Australia, information about opportunities at TAFE. We have some TAFE consultants come and give some information sessions, legal aid. So it's about empowering women with knowledge. That's the aim of the program. We also have partnership with other agencies and organizations. One of them is Too Good Foundation, and they're very generous. They offer free meals, frozen meals to shelters, but also they have programs specifically for women who have fled domestic violence. So they have a commercial kitchen. They train the women. They give them a certificate of hospitality. Not only that, they also help them to do CV, help them to, before going to an interview, give them opportunities of work. And many women have actually benefited from Too Good Foundation with their initiative of helping women in terms of employment and education. We have also Service New South Wales program. So it's a program called traineeship and internship program, and they do it for vulnerable people in the community. So it's anyone with disability, women fleeing domestic violence. So they offer the traineeship in customer service. So we have referred.
Does your website list all that kind of support organizations who they sort of like Service New South Wales, TAFE?
We don't advertise for
That's
that
not advertising,
on
okay.
behalf of other organizations, but once.
So how would you navigate people? Is it just word of mouth?
No. So what happens is that if we have a client and that client, we usually sit with the clients and see their goals. So if their goal is not education at all or anything, we tell them, would you like to attend our program, which is Break Free, which is about that. But some people who have actually a working goal, so we try to tell them that these are some organizations that can help you specifically. Like
so during the one-to-one meeting, you basically share all the key points, but on your website, there's nothing listed as such, because
we are not really an education service, so we are actually crisis accommodation service.
So this is where the meeting one-to-one is more beneficial for that person.
Yes, we don't also focus on that as much, like we focus on other things like mental health, like different aspects, but that aspect is important mainly with the women who transition from crisis accommodation, and we want them to improve their financial status and become financially independent.
Okay, thank you, Marina. We're coming near to end of our session, but I've got one question for Debbie and for Paula, if I can, in 1 minute, basically. Paula, can you share success stories of women from culturally diverse backgrounds who have re-entered the workforce through a TAFE New South Wales program?
A recent one was I just want to speak to the course because we piloted a course last year at TAFE, and it was a partnership with Relationships Australia, and a lot of the women had been had experienced family violence, and the course we co-designed and with some of the women as well, because the women, you know, if you aren't responsive to what women want or women need, whether it's education or employment, then it's, you know, it's pointless exercise. But in this course, we had 22 women and enroll, and 22 women graduated, and that's unusual because, you know, people always have to withdraw because of family responsibilities and life happens. But, and, you know, evaluating that course, I think it was really down to being responsive to the skills, the needs, what the women were saying to us. And it was really a program where we invited employers and employment brokers, so tips for interviews, do's and don'ts. We invited Anti-Discrimination New South Wales to talk about your rights at work. We invited Western Sydney Legal Community Legal Centre to talk about your rights as an unemployed person. We had services within TAFE. So the women were able to, going back to what this is about, knowledge is power. So having the knowledge across the journey of education and employment is really important. In this program, women pathwayed into further training. Some women got jobs, actual jobs.
Excellent.
And some women basically, you know, I think the knowledge they weren't quite ready yet to go into further education or work, but all the feedback was this course made them feel confident and actually gave them, some of them said they gave them their lives back. They felt like they were recognised as human beings, having raised children, and felt like everyone had pushed them into the margins. And that for me is a really important part.
It's very sentimental. Thank you, Debbie. What are some of the key challenges women face when transitioning from education to business, and how they can overcome them in a 1 minute pitch?
1 minute, okay. So I think the key challenges for me, being a woman in business and a mum and all of the other things that we have to juggle at the same time, is finding time, right? But also finding concentrated time. So, I mean, I used to, when Jane was quite small, I used to schedule my social media when I was nap trapped, right? But I had to learn that skill to do that, right? So micro learning and taking in information where you can through all the different programs, whether it's a half an hour webinar or a 1 hour session with a mentor that will give you the key things that you need at that time, and actioning it, I think, and finding the time and the headspace to do that, I think is a challenge, but we can do it. You know, we are multitasking queens and we can. So being able to know where to go for those skills and learn them and then action them, I think that's the key.
Love it. Look, it's important for any individual to be positive and to have confidence in yourself and to be determined. And I think commitment is the key factor here. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people is a key factor as well. As much as we have tools up our sleeve, but we need the right company, the right support mechanism, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be organization, whether it be society. And I think we are very grateful. First, we live in a lucky country. Our community is very community-minded, and they do care, and they're very generous, whether it be time and money, obviously, depending on the situation. So I appreciate all your time and your dedication and your kindness today to come and share your knowledge and your skill. And I think I'm hoping that whatever we did today, it's just we planted the seed, and hopefully that seed maybe it could be like a snowball effect. It's going to roll and hopefully collect a lot of energy along the way. So the beauty about being on Facebook now, that program or whatever we talk, that discussion is out there. Feel free to share it, bounce it, comment, and edit if you like to do, and put it in a format that suitable to your workforce. I wish to collaborate for hosting us today, and stay tuned to the Canberra Bank and Chamber of Commerce on whether it be through our social media or website. There's monthly activities. I'm available. Reach out to me any day, and happy to visit your workforce anytime. So until next time.
Thank you.